Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the daily Manchester United Happy Wildcard Wednesday. And if you're of the volition of celebrating Easter, yes it is Wednesday, I had to remind myself of that as well. My name is Kieran McGidley. I'm joined alongside on today's episode by the lovely Mr. Tom Kens. Tom, how are you doing on this episode?
Not too bad, Kieran. Hello to everyone. Life is a roller coaster, as they all say. You know, Thursday and Sunday proved exactly that. But we've got a little bit of a break midweek, haven't we, before we next play Bournemouth this Sunday coming. So it gives Ruben Amorim a little bit of time to think about what he decides to do for Sunday's game, because I can imagine it's going to be a similar lineup to the one we saw against Bournemouth. I can imagine there's going to be a few more names being rotated around to get some rest and give those who were rested maybe a little bit of game time before we make the trip to Bilbao, which is very much our season again.
Yeah, certainly will be. And joining us for the first time, you may have already seen him on TikTok, GSPN Man United. He joins us for an episode today. It's Pete Fitzpatrick. Pete, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to, well, as Tom said, the roller coaster. I hope you've got that white knuckle grip on.
Yeah, far too used to it now, but thanks a million for having me on the show, and hi to everyone listening. Yeah, you might have seen me on TikTok with a lot of bleeps, but it was about 20 minutes after the game, and as you can see, the hair has long gone, but the head was gone and the heart was somewhere else. So yeah, it was it was quite. That was I was at the 4-3 against Liverpool last season, and I always said, I was like, I don't think I'll ever have a game like that again. Like, what are the odds? And in that game, it was the lowest of lows. It was as everyone was thinking, like, where do we go from here as a club? Like, what? It felt like the fate of like the next 5 years was on the line, and also where would Amorim go if you lose the game like that? But then just to like absolute bedlam, and I have a few. We'll get into it, but I have a few war wounds on my body as a result of the Maguire goal. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, I mean, on TikTok, on that clip, you said it was the greatest comeback, I should say greatest censored comeback since 99. A week's passed now, or roughly a week. Still of that same mindset? Still agree with yourself?
Yeah, in terms of like 3 goals in 6 minutes and added time, 5-4. I was saying like Maguire Mainu was like crouching Defoe, like the big man, little man. And it just reminded me after, because there's a picture of them together. But yeah, in terms of also like the fate of, there felt like there was so much on the line. And then you're looking back, like, what are the great European comebacks we had? Like, we've obviously had a lot, but in recent times, I'd still stand by it just because there was so much on it. It wasn't like, oh, we've had a few good comebacks in like the league and stuff and here and there, but like, what did it mean really? And I do think the one last year against Liverpool, that was more of a topsy-turvy back and forth game again in the FA Cup. So yeah, I'll stand by it. But I don't want another one. I'd like for once, just a calm semi-final somehow. But that won't happen. We know it won't happen.
Well, weirder things have happened this season, Pete, and it seems to be the mantra of this team. Tom, you weren't at the stadium, but I mean, you were watching the game, at least the latter half of it. What did you make of it?
It was a crazy game because we were cruising from the performance in the first half. In the second half, it was all Lyon, and I couldn't really believe my eyes. It was a blessing it went to extra time because it upset Lyon's momentum a little bit. By the time they went down to 10 men, it made me think, right, we've got a good chance of scraping through here. But then for some reason, Lyon were able to get that third goal thanks to the man who got the equaliser in the first leg, Shirky, his name. And then by the time, like I said, put it from the penalty spot, I really thought that was that. We were not coming back. We were not going to score 3 goals, given how poorly we'd been all campaign. From the moment we got the penalty, I sort of think, right, okay, if we get this pen put away, we've got a chance. Bruno puts it away, and then the momentum just swings again in Manchester United's favour. And then up came Mainu with a brilliant dribble into the box and slotting it away. Oh my God. My heart was pumping by that point. I knew there was going to be a lot of added time because of the injuries we had in the second half of that extra time period. It was going to be something like 4 or 5. Thankfully, it was 5. But, Maguire was able to put in that header from Casemiro. My word. I was almost screaming my head off in the hotel bar. Thankfully, there weren't too many people in the room. But no, it was phenomenal. I've never seen a game like that before, where there'd been 5 goals scored in extra time, with 3 of them coming in the last. Well, 4 of them coming in the second half of extra time. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it was. It sort of like felt like United had run out of steam, as you said. By the time Lyon's 4th goal had got in, it just felt like the heads had dropped, and all of a sudden we win the penalty. Bruno dispatches of it, and all of a sudden there's this boost, and Kobbie Mainoo coming on as a makeshift striker, as you say, fantastic footwork in the box to be able to get the shot away. Then it's equaliser, and I'm sitting at home watching on, thinking it's going to penalties, and this could go either way. Okay, we get to pick which player we don't get to take the penalties. Probably someone like Onana or Lindelof, someone who's not had good experiences with penalties, but all of a sudden, 60 seconds later, they're not long talking about the last goal, and suddenly Maguire's up there to head home. And it was just surreal. I thought, is he offside? Has he pushed the other defender? But no, it stood, and you were just sort of sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes in total delirium. Like, is this really happening? Is this how we're going to win this game? Almost expecting another twist in the tail, being caught out at the other end. But yeah, it's been crazy, and I don't think a game could sum up Manchester United more this season. We threw away a 2-0 lead. We conceded, 2 really poor goals to concede, in all honesty. And then to fight back at 4-2 down. It's had a little bit of everything of what we struggled with this season, with not having the goals up front when we need them. The defence, I don't think, has been the worst part of this team, but it's certainly not helped. And yeah, I have to say for Andre Onana, the 4 goals that he did concede, there wasn't a lot he could do about them. He's been under a lot of criticism. Some of it, he brought on himself with the comments about Lyon. We should easily dispatch of them. Lyon fans gave him absolute hell for, what's that, 210 minutes, if my math serves me well, maybe a little bit more. And it almost worked, them giving him hell, but we just managed to prevail with Harry Maguire being the saviour. And yeah, I mean, I could happily talk about that game for the next couple of minutes, but I'm sure everyone wants to move on because we had that game against Wolves and we're straight back down to earth. But hey ho, that's the life of the Manchester United fan base. We're well used to it this season, although the news came yesterday that we're mathematically staying up. So can I get an ooh?
Party time.
Party time. We're safe for another year. Oh, goodness me. Anyway, more reaction to what's been going on recently and maybe some transfer news coming down the line. We'll be back after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
So, Pete, obviously more about yourself. First time on the episode. We've got to know, it's sort of like a trial by fire this season with anyone who heard you. Welcome to the show. How did you have the ignominy of supporting Manchester United, especially in this time right now?
So obviously I'm Irish, and that's 50-50 split down the line. Actually, no, Celtic as well. But in English clubs, obviously it's United or Liverpool, and then whoever's the good team that's good when you're 7 or 8. So a lot of mates support Arsenal, and yeah, it's not great. But no, my dad supported them, and my uncle, massive Liverpool fan. My dad was United, and my mum always said my uncle tried to buy me a Liverpool jersey when I was born, and she said no, he'll pick his own team. So, which I always thank her for sometimes now. But my dad, my granddad supported Man United as well. Not so much, like he's still alive, but he doesn't support them as much. But United, it obviously helped that United were good, and my uncle supported them. Like on the other side, supported them, and this kind of like 2000 around that time. Roy Keane was the captain, Dennis Irwin, big Irish influence. There was also a Man United cafe in Dublin that lasted all of 6 months. But I got my first jersey there, it's a White York one, and that was kind of just from there went on. And then first United game was actually at Anfield with the uncle who supported them and my dad. And my dad was like, "You can't wear a jersey in." But I wore it under like 5 layers and we lost. But first, kind of the moment I'd say I fell in love with it all, even though 2001, 2002 was the first season I like fully remember of like properly following them. And I went to a game, my granddad's 70th, they won 4-1. Van Nistelrooy scored twice, Dave Beckham free kick, and Phil Neville. They're all in the first half at our end. And it was kind of from there, I was like, yeah, Van Nistelrooy's your favourite player. And that's not changed. So from there, it was like, yeah, this is the thing. It's great. And it's kicked on from there and never really looked back. And up until I was 19, it was fantastic. My centuries were pretty bad, but I'm at the point now, kind of like, you need to, like I was obviously at the match there on Thursday, there's people leaving like around me, and one of my friends tried to leave, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, and he was like, thank God you rescued me." I was like you take the bad times. Like at the moment, you'll remember eventually when United get good again. It will happen. You'll remember the bad times, and I always remember that growing up. Like my dad, like we were all. You thought like United just win everything. That's just what this club does. It was all we knew. And my dad was like, I remember watching Man United get relegated. So like, like just kind of makes you have to take things in relative terms. But yeah, wouldn't regret it either way. You kind of ups and downs, as I said, the roller coaster of supporting the club. So that's kind of long story short. I'm Irish is basically why I support them.
I love that. Gave us a sort of a short story as well,
Yeah.
as well as the detailed. But you're right, as King Eric, I'll paraphrase him, you can never change your football club. So we're glad you're stuck with Manchester United because, I mean, the reaction after the game on Thursday speaks volumes. And that is that. I mean, Tom, obviously great memories. I mean, we find ourselves in this trap again. You hear the likes of Beckham and Van Nistelrooy. I mean, what a striker Van Nistelrooy was, absolutely deadly in front of goal. It's so easy, especially right now, to sort of look back to the past and with rose-tinted glasses to think, man, we had it so good.
Man, I would do anything to get that squad back or get a squad like those. But of course, football changes from time to time. Van Nistelrooy was a player who wasn't exactly the most skillful, but he was one of the most determined players I had ever seen grace a Manchester United shirt. And he put it on and got on with it. I will probably say that I think his ego had kicked into him towards the end of his time, hence why Sir Alex decided that he needed to move on it, and so Van Nistelrooy went to Real Madrid in 2006. But I think he still has a heart at Manchester United as Van Nistelrooy. It's a shame what's happened to him over at Leicester. It hasn't clearly gone right for him, and I doubt that he'll be there next season. He will be looking for a new job, I think. But, if there's an opportunity for him to come back into the coaching staff at Manchester United, I'd be all for that, because I think his energy could be what United need at this minute in time. It's just whether Ruben Amorim buys into what he can bring.
Yeah, but I sort of think if there was a place for him at Man United, especially when Amorim came into the job, he would have gladly gone back as a coach. But I think he got that taste of management. Management is what he's wanted to do, so it makes sense to try and take the plunge at another club. If he wasn't going to get the chance at Manchester United, try it somewhere else. And when you've got top class players who try and get their hand in management, you've got your Rooneys and your Lampards and your Gerrards who find it tough because they're expecting the players they coach to be at their level. And it's normally those ones that are sort of in the background, your Eddie Howes, who, may not be the flashiest players, but they've got the footballing brain. I mean, you could argue Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho were good players. Jose Mourinho, his career really curtailed by injury. Pep playing for Barcelona was a good talent, but I feel like the best managers come from, players that were quite good, but not the limelight, not stealing the show. And even then, captains of clubs seems to be even a little bit rarer. I mean, John Terry, I know, is in coaching, but I don't think he's had a hand at management just yet. So I wonder, for Van Nistelrooy, what the next step will be, whether he will ever be a Manchester United manager. I'm sure the Stretford MP would welcome him with open arms if that ever were to happen. But we're with Amorim at the moment, and we're sort of sticking with it.
Yeah, on Van Nistelrooy. Yeah, I was like, I remember saying at the time, I was like obviously delighted. It was so cool seeing Van Nistelrooy manage us, but I was not ever really in favour of Ollie as the manager. I was kind of like, this is a nostalgia trip. It's not realistic for these guys to come in, and this is not this is not how it works. Like, you don't just get the Man United job because you were good. One, like, you may as well have like Dwight York as the next manager. It's not really. I was like, this is actually like the best version of Ollie. Interim run, have the honeymoon period. We're all happy, but we never get to the point where it's getting toxic, and it's kind of like, like at the end of Ollie, it was like, and people were out like Ollie in, Ollie out, and all that, and you're kind of like, oh, this is a bit. I don't like this. Like, so Van Nistelrooy is like, you're an unbeaten Man United manager. What a great achievement. Same as Michael Carrick. And you're like, that's a good thing to have. And I remember the Leicester job was an awful job for him to take. And I do think, to be fair, it was the manager PSV did relatively well, but he left. He fell out with like the board or something. But that Leicester team are awful, really, really poor team, and no one's surprised. Like, no one's surprised they're going down. So I think maybe he was like, well, it's a Premier League job. Like, I like English football a lot. I've an affinity towards it. And yeah, but it's just funny. He probably got offered the job because in his 4 games with us, he beat them 5-2 and 3-0. And they probably thought, like, we'll get this guy. But I think Van Nistelrooy knew all their Leicester's weaknesses. He probably thought, well, they've got no strengths. So, like, I feel bad for him, but it's just a poison chalice, really, taking that job.
I was going to say, just be careful punching down, Pete. You never know. We have a limited range of punching down, especially this season.
Just the promoted teams are the only teams that we can seemingly beat.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, you look at Wolves, they are, what's it now, 6 on the bounce? First the points, then the pints is the phrase around Wolverhampton right now. I mean, yeah, fair enough. They've dragged themselves up towards that sort of mid-table, which I really couldn't have seen them do in that first instance. But more about one Wolves player in particular when we talk a bit about transfers. We'll be back after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to start your and tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, get me to summer. And of course, we get to this period of time where who isn't Manchester United linked with in a transfer window? The past 2 have been decent, but some of the names that are coming out, Mateus Cunha being a bright spark for Wolves this season. Apparently, we're one of 5 Premier League clubs that are in for Mateus Cunha in this window. That's according to Sky Sports. Tom, quickly on Mateus Cunha. Is he a realistic signing? Can you see him in a Manchester United shirt? And is he the answer to our prayers up front?
It doesn't feel like a gamble going for someone like him. It's just, is he worth 62.5 million? I think that's more of the question. Having said that, we paid 72 million for Rasmus Højlund nearly 2 years ago now. The first season he had was actually alright, but this season, nowhere near it. With Mateus Cunha, I can see him hitting the ground running. I just worry how long he'll get, depending on how our season goes and whether Amorim stays in the job or not. Because I can't imagine some of the players that we've got who Erik ten Hag has signed will stick around. They'll probably be sent out on loan, if not move on for good. Mateus Cunha, it's not too bad of a signing, I don't think, but it's just whether he would gel into Manchester United's system. He may have gelled into Wolves' system nicely, but Manchester United is a different kettle of fish to how they play compared to how Wolves play. It feels to me like Cunha has more of a limited skill set, which is the kind of skill set you would tend to find with Anthony Elanga, for instance, who's at Nottingham Forest. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's more the fact that his price tag is what puts me off. I don't blame United necessarily going for him. It's just whether are there cheaper options out there. That would be my only say.
And Pete, how about yourself with Cunha?
Yeah, on the system, I'm kind of like, Wolves do play a similar system to us, 3-4-3, and you can kind of see the way he plays. Like, yeah, I can see him in one of those 10s positions. On the price tag, like, yeah, it is like a lot of money, but I'm kind of like, you're not getting a player from Premier League team, and the Hoyland point's fair as well because we've got notes on him, and Anthony. But it's hard to, like, who would you get from a Premier League team, like a team going down, that you're going to get like a reasonable deal? Like Solanke cost 65 million. He had one good season for Bournemouth, and then Spurs bought him for that. And then you're kind of looking around elsewhere. Like Semenyo from Bournemouth is going to go for, like, they're not going to give him away on the cheap. And Mbumo would cost a similar amount, I think. And that's the one that was kind of people were kind of bandying around, is one or the other. But yeah, Cunha, I'm like, yeah, he plays a 10. He can also kind of play as a 9, goals, assists, very good at dribbling. I remember first game last season when Wolves ran through us, kind of like the first signs of this new Ten Hag 4-3-3 is a disaster. He ran through us. So we need people who can carry the ball. We don't have enough of those people. And he's a good age profile. He's 25 going on to 26. Because we can't just buy all potential. We need to have guys who are good to go. And we brought Bruno at 25, so it's almost a template. You need some of these guys who are just going to, like, want to step up to the next level and go well at United. And he does seem like that. Like, he said a lot of things, wants to test himself, wants to try himself out. And he's talked very, a lot of nice things about United in the past, that he used to support them growing up. I think he said Anderson was his favourite player, which is great. I always loved Anderson. So yeah, and I do think, I like the fact that he has a bit of edge and personality. I know he's had a few disciplinary issues, but apparently this is the first season he's had them. But I like someone to be like, yeah, you're hungry, you want to do well, you're not just here to pick up a paycheck. So yeah, I think when was the last? We don't sign Premier League proven players. We need to be shopping in Italy the whole time now for forwards. So yeah, it's the price tag, depending on what our budget is overall with sales in Europa. And then also there always is the risk, because every United signing has a risk these days. There's no, like, we could sign the best player in the world and you'd still be worried that something will go wrong. So yeah, it's on paper, but I'm happy with it. But I was happy with a lot of signings, so we'll hold on for now.
Well, Pete, you say about we need to stop shopping in Italy. Well, there's reports from 442 about Victor Osserman, and a deal in principle has been agreed for around 65 million. Is reports there. I mean, looking at his stats this season, okay, we're not technically shopping in Italy. If you want to technically call it, we're shopping in Turkey. But in the Turkish Super League, 21 goals in 25 appearances. Europa League, 6 goals in 7. I mean, we're talking about a player here who can make chances and take them on his own, which Højlund has struggled to do. And Osserman seems like a player that he could, grab a game by the scruff of the neck. What do you reckon, Pete? Could you stomach one more striker from Italy?
No, sorry, I should have. Yeah, I didn't think of that when I was saying that. There's always an exception to a rule, as they say, and I do think the big difference there is, like you said, like Osserman did it for Napoli. Like, he won the league with them, and he's played Champions League, he's played Europa. He's not like Højlund has barely played half a season. I liked Højlund at the start. I rated him. I liked him last season, but he's regressed a lot, and he did need a senior striker with him. So no, Osserman would fit the bill, and Osserman does the way he plays. You can imagine him playing in the Premier League. Like, he has no problem. As you said, he can make his own chances. He seems to have no problem with the physicality. He's rapid. Like, his profile lines up with a Premier League striker, and again, he's 26, so he's probably someone being like, yes, I want to play for a massive club. And if we're in the Champions League, I'd be like, let's just get Osserman, buy a senior striker. Maybe Højlund can just be there as well and learn off him, or Xerxes, or whatever you want to do there. But yeah, on the other side, like, Delap looks great now, but I'm kind of like, I think we need someone who's just like, I don't need to learn. I'm going to come in here and start banging goals right away, because that's what went wrong with Højlund. Like, it was just all too much. And obviously, there's a million other issues at United that have contributed to it, but it is just a lot to put on someone. And going from Ipswich to United is but playing in Napoli, that's a big club, a massive stadium, massive fan base, pressure every day. So no, I'd be Osserman and Cunha. I'd be very happy with, but again, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. But Tom, what about yourself? Could you see Osserman in a United shirt?
He had been mooted to be in the Premier League for some time, hadn't he? For a few years. I thought that there was like some rumours of linking him with Chelsea. There may have been another club as well, but with United, I would happily take him. I mean, we've been lacking this killer instinct all season. It's fine having good wingers like Amad Diallo and players like Bruno Fernandes getting on the score sheet and putting a lot of assists, but they can only do so much. With Cunha and Osserman, it would help alleviate some of the pressure from those particular players. Højlund right now isn't good enough, but I think he would still be good enough to be a squad player at least, be the kind of player that comes off the bench just to help rejuvenate some of the spirit that was lost from him last season. It's just when we get to next season and everyone is very much fit, including Xerxes, including Ahmed, including Martinez and others, I just want to see a fully strengthened attacking side. Defense is fine. It's the attack side of things that needs work.
Yeah, and I mean, could you call them signings? When we get to the summer, we'll obviously have the loan returns of Marcus Rashford and Anthony. Now, I'll come to you first, Tom. Have they done enough at their respective clubs, Anthony at Real Betis and Marcus Rashford at Aston Villa? Have they done enough to give them another chance in the starting lineup?
Anthony, no, because I think he's better at playing in a particular league where his strengths come into the fray. With Rashford, if he doesn't hit the ground running straight away, then I think it would be time for him to move on. Or if his attitude isn't even there for when the likes of Cunha and Osserman arrive, then that's when you need to pull the plug on him. Marcus has had his time at Manchester United. We'd all love to see him perform well. We'd love to see him succeed, no matter where he goes. But for me, I think Marcus has had his time at Manchester United. I think it's about time he just stepped aside and let someone else take his place. And besides, United have already changed the system from having two wingers to having two attacking midfielders and having those two wing backs, which are filled at the moment by Dello on the right-hand side and Dorgu on the left until Diallo gets back. I would say with Anthony, he needs to move on because he's just not going to fit into that Manchester United system, I'm afraid.
Pete, same question.
Yeah, I echo what Tom said. Anthony, Anthony's not proving anyone wrong. Like, Anthony's just not one. He's not a good enough player for. I know we're not good, but a team that wants to be winning titles, like that is the ambition at the end of the day. So, if Anthony's so good, like rivals say, why don't Arsenal buy him in the summer or Liverpool? Would you want your club to buy him? The answer would be no. So he suits that kind of. He suits the league, as Tom said. Suits slower style, and suits playing for Betis. Like, not as much attention. He's more of a marquee player. He gets more of the ball. He's not getting subbed off, and his confidence would be boosted by. Like United, he got a chance. If he wasn't playing well after 45, he's likely off. And then Rashford, not in a bad way. I don't want to see Rashford even at the training ground in the summer, like, because it's just over. Like, we can't be kicking this on. It's for his sake as much as for everyone's sake. It's a painful breakup in a sense. Still have a lot of time for Marcus Rashford, and he scored against City tonight from the penalty spot. And it's like, yeah, some things never change seemingly, but times it's over. Like, and if Rashford's so brilliant, United ruined him, and he's back and all this stuff, Villa stump up the cash for him, or another club buy him. But I just think that relationship with United's broken, and the relationship with Amram's broken. And I was at a few games this season. I actually saw his last goals for the club, which is a bit mad. But I went to Liverpool at the start of the season 3-0, and like, fans turning them so quickly. Like, the relationship's just gone. So I just think, for everyone's sake, better players have left United before than Marcus Rashford. And there were players who were far more revered: Van Nistelrooy, Roy Keane, Bex, Stam. A lot of them left in like acrimonious circumstances. It doesn't really define your legacy. And I think it's just time to be like, okay, it's a shame how it worked out. United are to blame for a lot of Rashford's problems and things that happened. But it's not on Ruben Amorim to fix problems that he inherited. If the guy's not going to work, like, if it's just not working, just move on. So no, I think all the guys, and hope to God Jadon Sancho goes to Chelsea. Malacia, if you're out on loan now, you're just going out One, because Amram doesn't want you in squad. And two, the wages, a little bit off the wages for the next 6 months. And three, can your value be increased so we can sell you and buy you players that actually will contribute? So, yeah, I think it's just for a lot of, and there's a lot of guys in the squad, and like, it's just, your time's up. Like, you've had to go with it. You're not good enough.
Yeah, and as you said, Pete, as we record this, City and Aston Villa are playing. Villa have scored with Marcus Rashford from the spot. Correct me if I'm wrong, that is his first goal in the Premier League this season.
He scored against Brighton away.
Oh, did he? Okay,
Yeah.
right. So I was going to make that point of, he's only just scored now. But
yeah, but
no,
he's not Rashford got that. He's got 4 goals now from he got 2 against Preston. The stats aren't everything, obviously, but that's always get brought up with United players, even people who don't watching all their matches. But if Rashford had the stats he had in the league and Champions League for us, it'd be a different conversation. And PSG game, he did play extremely well in that second half before Emery bizarrely sucked him off when he was like, I was like, Marcus Rashford is like on it. Like, he's got an extremely high ceiling. You just keep him on and give him the ball. But in that first half, he was terrible. And I was like, Marcus Rashford hasn't proved anything different tonight. That's what he is. He's up and down, he's streaky. Is that because he was poorly coached United with like 6 or 7 different managers and systems? That's probably a large part of the reason. But that's what Marcus Rashford is like. He'll give you amazing moments and then he'll frustrate you as well. So it's, what do you want? Like, we need players who are, like I said a while ago, United need like Dennis Irwins, like 7 out of 10 every week, sometimes 8, occasionally 9. None of like Bruno Fernandes is like that, but none of these guys who are 1 week unbelievable, the next week they don't want to be seen. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, just we can't do with these guys anymore.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's a tough one, like especially with Rashford, as you said, Tom. For someone like Rashford to have come through the system from the youth academy, scored on pretty much every debut he ever had for Manchester United, and on his England debut, don't forget as well. Now he's 27. He should be in his prime, and yet so far he's got 2 goals in the Premier League so far this season. We're at game week 33, 32, 33. So is that a sign, as you say, Tom, that sort of maybe backs up the point that maybe it is time for Rashford to, Villa would be a good fit for him because they'd be probably in the Champions League or at least in some sort of Europe, guaranteed by the Premier League stage. Maybe a change of scenery is what Marcus needs.
I would agree with that. And just to correct you, Marcus Rashford had scored 4 goals for United in the Premier League this season. And
I just don't know anything, do
yeah.
I? I'm out.
Okay. But plus the 2 for Aston Villa. So he's on 6 goals this season in the Premier League, plus the goals he scored against Barnsley. And he scored 1 in the Europa League against Porto. And then he got 2 in the FA Cup at Preston, I believe. Or was it 1 goal? It was 2. Yeah,
that Porto game, I heard it earlier. I remember that game. Like, that was the Rashford play. That was the best Rashford played for United in ages. And again, Ten Hag subbed him off at half time. He'd scored a goal. He'd set up Højlund's goal, and he was something about like, he's not tracking back or something. It was something weird like that. But it was like, you're like fighting for your job. This guy is, and you just don't. When Rashford's like that, it was a rarity in his last 18 months at United, where you keep him on because he does have a lot of ability, and it's never been a talent debate about Marcus Rashford, but like, what's talent if it's not going to be there all the time?
Yeah, well, sub me off because I know nothing about football or Marcus Rashford, but there we go. I'm glad to have been joined by Tom and Pete, who know far more about Marcus Rashford than myself. And I thank you both for joining me on tonight's episode, or on today's episode, as you listen to this. Don't forget as well, if you want more, I would say X-rated rants from Pete on social media, maybe that is our selling point, perhaps. You can find us on...
That was a one and done, maybe.
No. I expect every week now. That's it. Job done. You can follow us on all the social medias on GSPN Man United. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter and X, and we're on Facebook as well. Don't forget as well, you can watch the episodes on YouTube. So if you're on Spotify or Apple and you'd rather see our beautiful faces, then you can head over to the Daily Manchester United podcast, GSPN Daily Manchester United podcast. It's a long name, but it's so that you know what it is and you don't get us mixed up with any other daily Manchester United podcasts out there. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We'll look forward to joining you tomorrow as well. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.